Hello and welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for our latest mid-tournament update from the 2025 World Snooker Championship. I'm delighted to be joined once again by Adam Drury, our resident snooker head. Myself, Matt Hill. We've done a couple of these now. We did a pre-tournament update where we looked at how the outright market was ahead of the tournament and discussed some potential fancies in the match betting and the outright betting. We did an update last week when we were just coming to the end of round one. And now here we are again the following Tuesday, and we're down to the last eight at the Crucible. It features 5 former world champions in the last eight, along with a couple of young pretenders from China and a bit of a wild card in Chris Wakelin, who's probably not one to discount too lightly, even if he is one of the outsiders in the market. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 4 quarterfinals and having a bit of a general chat about how things have gone and how we maybe are seeing things pan out over these concluding stages. Adam, I'll pull the outright market up onto the bottom here. This is as of Tuesday morning. The first 2 quarterfinals will be getting underway while we're talking. So we've got Judd Trump 13-8 favourite now. Ronnie O'Sullivan just shy of 3-1. Xintong is 6-1. Brecel 8-1, and then we're into double figures for John Higgins 12-1, Mark Williams 22-1, and Chris Wakelin and Xintong, the outsiders of the remainder, at 25-1. It certainly is a stellar lineup. We have a mixture of pedigree, veterans, young players in form and outperforming their expectations, and then players with pedigree who maybe don't quite look like they're playing at a level to win this. But look, it's the quarterfinals now. If you're still in the tournament, you're fancying your chances, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. And the combination of matches is really fun as well. So you've got almost the 2 old war horses, Higgins and Williams, going at it, and then Brecel and Trump, who are, well, I think were the 2 standout performers in the last 16, being paired together as well. So we're going to have a nice variety in the semi-finals, pretty much guaranteed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can discount any of these 8 players from going all the way. But yeah, we'll talk through the outright market.
It's probably reflected that in the outright market, isn't it? Because like normally with any kind of sport, once you're at an 8-runner event, you would expect to be seeing somebody at like 50s or 100s or something, like one that's just done well to reach this stage. Whereas I think when you're talking about players like Xintong and Chris Wakelin as the sort of rags of the field, like Wakelin is playing really, really good snooker at the moment, and C has a fantastic record in these big tournaments as well. So it just sort of give a nod to the competitiveness and the quality that has come through to this stage.
Yeah, I think the draw as well has worked out in that way. So you've got Trump as the favourite, but probably in the tougher half with Brecel, Higgins and Williams. And then the 4 who I didn't mention instinctively in that first answer, O'Sullivan, Xintong, C and Wakelin. Obviously, O'Sullivan's a all-time legend going for the record this year, but it feels to me like the bigger names and the players who were fancy coming into this are more in that bottom half. So I guess that affects the market too. But certainly in the case of Trump, I don't know if we're about to come onto it, but he was someone who I think we said in the first of these, he must be one of the least talked about favourites for quite a while, because no one really fancied him. I think there was a sense with the Kyron Wilson rivalry that maybe his confidence had been chipped away at a little bit. But suddenly 13-8, I'm thinking, oh God, we've missed our moment, because it suddenly feels, I'm not going to say inevitable, because there are players capable of beating him, but he was playing the kind of snooker against Murphy that makes you think, I'm not quite sure who's going to be the one.
He looked like a favourite, didn't he, against Murphy?
He's obviously, we've seen Brecel pot balls amazingly. We've seen Wakelin and Xintong have played brilliant snooker so far. But Trump, we know he's going to last the distance as well. He's not going to get tired. He can grind it. He can come out of sessions 5-3 down when he should lose.
Manage his schedule a little bit as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be, he's going to have more in the tank now than he has done at this stage in previous years. It's going to take a hell of a performance to beat him, I think. And I also think Brecel in the quarterfinal is probably the best chance we've got of getting him beaten, because I think after that the matches get even longer. There's a certain sense of inevitability coming, but Brecel's playing the kind of snooker where he could beat anyone in the blink of an eye. So that's going to be a brilliant quarterfinal.
Yeah, I must say that is the quarterfinal that leaps off the page, isn't it,
Yeah.
for from a neutral perspective? But we're going to just run through all 4 quarterfinals briefly, take a look at the betting market, have a bit of chat about the routes so far, and Adam's going to give us a little pick as well to get involved. You can also catch Adam's written thoughts over on oddsnow.com. If you haven't paid us a visit over there, please do. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you're watching the video and you like your sports betting content. There's plenty more where this came from over the weeks and months ahead. Let's dive into it then, Adam. As I said, 2 quarterfinals have kind of just got underway as we're speaking now on Tuesday morning. We'll go with the veterans first. John Higgins and Mark Williams. I think you wrote about this, both going to be 50 later this year, but well, Williams already is. And yet here they are still locking horns at the Crucible at the latter stages. I've got to be honest, both have had their wobbles, but both have come through them, haven't they? Higgins, 2 very, very tight draining encounters, I think, and yet Mark Williams, I thought he was much better against Fafai than he was in his opener against Wuyiza. But yeah, look, they're both still standing. One of them's got to go here. The market fancy Higgins, but you wouldn't want to be getting too involved, would you? There's a lot of variables here.
Yeah, I think Higgins, there's certainly the danger of him being the one who's more likely to become quite drained and quite tired over the next week or so, which I think probably makes him one of my least likely candidates to go all the way. But also he seems to deal with that whenever you think that's coming. He seems to deal with it brilliantly, like his mental strength. That match with Guodong was a real kind of classic Crucible slog, I guess, where it was nip and tuck. You couldn't separate them. I'm not sure either of them ever led by more than 1 frame. But I'd have to check that. But certainly ended 13-12 to Higgins. He might have been 12-10 up actually. But yeah, it was a real one of those nip and tuck matches where you didn't really trust either of them to clear up in one visit and win a frame. But at the same time, the quality of the snooker, the quality of the match play was really, really good. And that's what always has given Higgins an edge. I think in this match, we can be confident neither of them are going to capitulate, or I don't think either of them are playing well enough to streak clear, or are likely to capitulate and fall away either. So I don't think these two are going to be separated very easily. So experienced, so much nous. And I think they'll quite enjoy doing battle with each other as well. I think we might see a similar match to that Higgins-Guodong last 16 game where it's nip and tuck, quite long frames. Maybe at times quite a tough watch, but an intriguing watch as well. So my pick here is over 22.5 frames, which means that they basically both need to get to 10 in a first to 13. And yeah, that's probably the bet I'm most confident of out of all 4 quarterfinals, because I just can't see a world where these two are separated easily.
Yeah, I was going back through the old head-to-head, and it's literally well, if I just read you out the winners of the recent encounters: Higgins, Williams, Higgins, Williams, Higgins, Williams, Higgins, Higgins, Williams, Williams, Higgins. It's literally yeah, there's nothing to separate them on the numbers. One interesting observation I did have is that Mark Williams has won the last 2 World Championship meetings between the pair, including a memorable 18-16 win in the final, of course, in 2018. So interesting to see if that plays a part. I personally think these two are way too experienced to get hung up on head-to-head or previous meetings. They very much know that each other's games inside out. And like you say, it is really, really tough to not see this going deep. I just have the slight concern. I think you already mentioned it about Higgins with the fatigue. He's had a lot of snooker coming into this. He's played 2 very, very long matches. I think I messaged you. I backed Zhao Guodong to beat John Higgins, and I said very, very early, this absolutely reeks of like a final frame or something. It's just so nip and tuck. And when you get into those last stages, you do feel like Higgins generally finds a way. But yeah, look,
Williams finds a way as well, like we've been talking about.
That's what I mean. I just wouldn't.
Problems. Yeah.
I would not try and talk you down from this bet. I just think at 5-4, just for context as well, the under 22 and a half is 3-4, 1.75 versus 2.25 there. So I definitely at the prices. I mean, if they were 10-11 either way, I'd still be inclined to lean over. So I think 5-4 definitely makes appeal. And like Adam says, there is strongest fancy of the 4 quarterfinals. Well, we shall see how that one pans out. We'll move on to quarterfinal 2, the other one that is already underway in the last 10 minutes or so. And this is Zhao Xintong taking on Chris Wakelin. Now, I kind of mentioned in my opening gambit that Chris Wakelin is, I suppose, the wild card, only because he's been compared with 5 former world champions and 2 really exciting young talents from China who we've seen quite a lot of in one way or another. But he comes in a 2-1 underdog here now. He's already knocked out Neil Robertson and Mark Allen, 2 really, really strong match players, and he's done it well. There's not been a fluke about it. He's played really good snooker. He's built himself a lead up, and then when he's been asked questions, he's generally had the answers. He faces Zhao Xintong here, who, after his qualifying matches, was being backed into 3rd or 2nd favourite to win this tournament. He was breathtaking in round 1, but I personally thought there was quite a drop-off in round 2 against Le Pai Fan. I didn't think that was I thought that was going to be a high-quality encounter. It wasn't, to be honest. Not to say that there weren't flashes of brilliance from Xintong. Of course, there were over that length of match, but as I'm sure you're going to come on to, Adam, century breaks and even 50 breaks were in short supply. Looked like a lot of nerves. You've got to remember Xintong has now played 6 matches to get to this stage with the qualifiers as well. So he's playing this as an amateur, technically. So, yeah, I don't think Wakelin's a forlorn hope at 2-1. I know I am maybe pocket talking a little bit. I am on Wakelin myself. But, yeah, I don't fear Xintong as a Wakelin backer. I don't know how you feel about this one.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think if you were to, swap around their names and reputations and just watch those 2 performances in the last 16, you'd fancy Wakelin. Wakelin was absolutely sensational to pull clear of Mark Allen. I think in the 2nd session in particular, when he went 12-4 up, he was taking on pots, which on commentary they couldn't believe he was even looking at and knocking them in. And Allen didn't do a whole lot wrong. In fact, he made a 1-4-7 in the match and still got hammered. There were a few little signs of nerves right at the end, but I think you can partly put that down to that weird situation where you're 12-4 up coming out for the last session, and you know that you haven't got too much to gain really from there. Everyone thinks you've won already, and you need to win that final frame, which he eventually did, winning 13-6. That Xintong Pei Fan match was weird. It's one of those matches you sometimes get in the 2nd round where I think it was across 3 days, and it just seems to go on and on forever.
Yeah.
Both players missing chances in multiple frames, and I think that's why the century count was low, because Xintong won a lot of frames mopping up the balls that Pei Fan had left for him. But it felt like there were a lot of mistakes. You're right, he still played some amazing stuff at times because that's what he does, but I wasn't as convinced by him as in the 1st round when it was a demolition job, really. And so, yeah, my pick in this match is I'm going to go against the grain a little bit and go for under 3.5 centuries in the match. At an odds against price. Xintong didn't make a single century in that 2nd round match. Wakelin made, I think, 2, but his century count across the season isn't particularly high. He's not a prolific century scorer. And I think you also have to factor in just how big this match is for both players. Probably, well, Xintong's UK champion, so UK Championship final maybe trumps this, but near enough the biggest match of both players' careers. And they'll both sense a real opportunity in this half of the draw to potentially reach the final, let alone the semi-final. So a few signs of nerves for both players in the 2nd round. Didn't think they ended the match as well as they started it. I think Xintong particularly dropped off. It feels like going over 3.5 centuries just because these 2 are playing well would be a bit of a trap. So I'm going to kind of go against the grain and go for the unders. I'd also talk on Wakelin, looking at those outright prices that are going under the bottom of the screen at the moment. For me, if you're ignoring Trump, who we've said feels like very much the most likely winner from here, Wakelin and Si Zhouyi at 25-1 each. We need one of them to reach the final if we back both of them each way at 25-1. And so if I was to have an outright bet at this stage, I don't think there's as much between Xintong and Wakelin as the market suggests. We'll come on to it, but I don't think there's as much between O'Sullivan and Si as the market suggests. So probably my outright pick from here would be to back those 2 at 25-1 each way. And I think it could be the semi-final between them. And even if it's not, I think there's a strong chance we get one of them and we get a runner in that semi-final.
That'd be a good result for me. I've got Wakelin and C covered, and I have Brecel. So that they're my 3 last standing. And yeah, that semi-final would obviously lock in a really nice profit for me. So fingers crossed, you're right there, Adam. But yeah, interesting game. This it really is. I think Wakelin, it should be said as well. He's had 2 games where he's been able to build up that big lead, hasn't he? And we haven't yet seen him in a nip and tuck contest this year. Not to say that won't suit him. I actually think he might enjoy something like that against someone like Xintong, who does give you chances as good as he is. I think Wakelin's temperament has been so impressive all season, really. So I don't see him getting too flustered when Xintong makes these flashy breaks and plays these gutsy shots. But yeah, I mean, if he could build up another lead again, he's shown himself as a great front runner in this tournament. And yeah, early exchange is going to be very interesting in that one, I think. Well, we move on to quarterfinal 3. We said this could be the showstopper of the tournament. Judd Trump, the tournament favourite, takes on Luca Brecel, who has absolutely wowed everybody, rediscovering his best form. We did touch on him on the outright preview as just one of these who his price reflects a bad season, but if he leaves that bad season behind, it's going to look a silly price, and so it does. I mean, he went off 40-1 for this tournament, Brecel. He's now 8-1 after a couple of wins, which just shows you the level he has been operating at. He is going to have to take out the tournament favourite here if he's going to repeat his success from 2 years ago. Judd Trump, we've already touched on him quite a bit. He talked about this sense of inevitability, but I think we both kind of agree that if anyone is going to stop him from adding a second world title, it may well be Brecel. And I'm fascinated by the tactical element of this match, because I think if Judd Trump goes toe-to-toe with Brecel, obviously it's going to be a joy to watch for us. But I just wonder whether he'll maybe look to frustrate the Belgian a little bit, who you not renowned for his patience, so shall we say, Brecel, and he does have this kind of blasé attitude at times. And I just wonder if Trump grinds out the first session or 2 and gets himself a lead, whether Brecel could maybe lose his head. But we shall see. It's going to be a very intriguing affair.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a few people saying there's not going to be too much safety in this one, whereas actually I think you're right. I think Trump will. There's every chance he looks to grind Brecel down, maybe slow it down. Trump won't want to make frames ugly and be sending balls all around the table and on cushions and all of that sort of thing. But I think he won't want a really open game because he'll know how dangerous Brecel is. Yeah, I think this is the best chance for the rest of the field there is of Trump being beaten in this tournament. Brecel played snooker, which you can't really compete with against Ding in the last 16. Again, particularly that first session on Saturday night, multiple pundits saying it's the best session of snooker they've ever seen played at the Crucible, which is a big call, and I think probably something you say in the heat of the moment, but that doesn't take away from just how good it was. So the total frames market is one I've liked for quite a few matches in this tournament, but one that I'm avoiding here just because I think you can see a world where both of these two streak clear of each other. If Brecel opens the game up and Trump just picks him off, it could be comfortable.
Both quite volatile, aren't they?
Yeah, and if Brecel gets on a roll, you never know how quickly he's going to get to 13. So instead, I'm going to kind of embrace the chaos of this game and back over 4.5 match centuries.
I like that bet.
It was a winner in the Brecel Ding last 16 game, and I think there were 4 in the Trump Murphy game. Trump obviously bringing up his 100th century of the season, so he's absolutely a prolific century scorer. Enjoys scoring them.
Could that be a monkey off the back as well? Do you think he's been thinking about that?
Possibly. I mean, he said afterwards he wasn't, but it was quite significant. It felt like a big moment when he got it. I
think he won 100 grand as well, didn't he? As well.
Yeah,
so I mean, I'm sure he quite enjoyed that. I'm sure he's not for short of a few quid, but you know, everyone likes a bit of money.
Yeah. And Trump only got 2 centuries in that match, but 3 80s and 2 90s as well. So very much kind of close to scoring quite a few more. And I think the open nature of this game, and Brecel's not going to back down. He looks in that devilish mood he did 2 years ago when he won the title. Hopefully this is going to be a fun match, and this is a fun enough bet to follow on. We want the centuries, we want the high scoring. And yeah, I like the look of this one, particularly if it goes. We could do with it going close. I think
this is one of those where I wouldn't be surprised if there was 4 centuries in the first session. To be honest, if these two both come out firing, as I'm sure they'll want to. I love this bet. This is my favourite of your 4 selections, and I probably will be following in on it, actually. Yeah, really expecting a high-quality affair. But let's hope it's not a damp squib. Sometimes we build these matches up. I just can't see a way this doesn't entertain this game. It's going to be a cracker. Well, our final quarterfinal that we've yet to cover does feature the new second favourite, Ronnie O'Sullivan, who has obviously came in with more questions than answers, as we've discussed. We still weren't absolutely convinced after round 1. He's got through very comfortably in round 2 over Pang Zhenshu, but then typically in his interview was very, very downbeat, saying he was playing crap and saying that somebody would do a job on him and this and that. We've heard all this from Ronnie before. Sometimes he goes on and wins the championship at a canter when he says this kind of thing. He's obviously chasing that elusive 8th world title that will take him outright above Stephen Hendry in the modern era as the most world championship wins. Bookies certainly are taking cover. They've got him into second favourite now, as you can see along the bottom of your screen. No bigger than sort of 14-5, 11-4. He's a big favourite here against Si Xiaowei, 10-3. Si, I don't think he's been at his best in this tournament thus far, but he does have form for raising his game on the big occasion. He's got some great big victories over the years, and I think he'll quite fancy the job here, to be honest. I think he's coming in with absolutely no talk around him. And Adam, from your perspective, these comments from Ronnie, I'm not playing very well, someone's going to whack me. Do you agree with him, or do you think it's just the usual fluff?
Yeah, I'm sort of wary of falling for the shtick, because I think it's very much almost a strategy from his point of view to talk this way and try and take the pressure off himself. I do think actually he's, in his interviews and the way he's spoken in this tournament, he's maybe in slightly more authentic mood than he has been in the past. I kind of think he is speaking a little bit more openly and naturally. Even on the BBC last night when he was saying all this stuff that you just referenced, it wasn't like it was short answers and he wanted to rush out of the studio. He was in quite chatty mood. He was just quite downbeat about his game. So I think he probably does believe it to an extent, but from a betting point of view, you probably just want to ignore what he's saying, because it can drive you mad. I do think I do actually agree with him, though, that he's not been punished for mistakes he's made in the first 2 matches. They look like very comfortable scorelines, but I think Ali Carter will be gutted by how he played in that first round game, because he was just absolutely nowhere near.
Ali Carter could have easily been a mile in front after the first session. Yeah,
100%. And then Pang, again, it felt like he kind of hit his ceiling in that second round match. I think there is an issue as well, probably not with Carter, but maybe the younger Chinese players who look at O'Sullivan as an idol, and playing him at the Crucible is such a huge occasion for them. That's obviously a potential complication with this match. But I think Si hopefully has the experience now to overcome that, having reached the semis a couple of years ago. You're right, he's probably not been at his best, but he's also, I don't think it's bad news from his perspective that he's come through 2 quite tough matches. You'd probably have him in the kind of Brecel, that type of player, the fluent potter who can get beaten up quite easily as well. Whereas actually he's ground his way through 2 matches. He's had to win in different ways so far. Beat Dave Gilbert, which is no mean feat, 10-6, I think. And then came through Ben Williston as well in a game that was, the table was quite often quite awkward. It was, again, one of those fiddly matches where he just couldn't find rhythm. I don't think he's in a bad spot at all. And I think O'Sullivan, whose long shot percentage is down in the low 50s for the tournament, I think we have seen when he hits the ball over distance, he's not as comfortable as when he's in the balls. When he's in the balls, he looks really good, and that's why he's racking up frames. But I do think a better opponent is going to punish him more as we move forward. So that's why I've gone for the over 21.5 frames in this match, which is effectively a handicap bet for Si. I'm basically backing both players to get to 9 frames in this match. And assuming that O'Sullivan doesn't crumble completely, I think he's not going to have too many issues getting to 9. But I think Si can get to 9 as well because of all the reasons we've talked about. I think he's in decent match play form. And I think he's a better bet to pick off O'Sullivan's mistakes than others have been so far. So I think this could be a really good match. I do actually think O'Sullivan will win. I think the class around the balls, when he's been from close distance, he looks like his usual self. So I fancy O'Sullivan maybe 13-9, 13-10. But I think Si not being blown away and getting up to 9 is a decent bet.
Yeah, you only have to look at Si's last couple of campaigns here at the Crucible as well. He clearly enjoys these kind of challenges and matches 2023, he got the better of Sean Murphy 10-9. He beat Anthony McGill 13-12. Even when he went out to Luca Brecel, eventual champion, it was 17-15. And we saw that trend continue last year when he edged out Mark Williams 10-9 as well. So playing these big names and these long matches, he's very, very adept at it. And I don't really see him wilting. Although I must say the form, I was hoping to see a little bit more from him. Like I say, I backed C outright before the tournament, and I just loved his Crucible record. I thought he was going to be in slightly better nick than what he looks. I do ultimately agree with you. I think Ronnie will probably have a little bit too much room on what I've seen from both players, but I don't see it being I mean, these prices 1-4 and 10-3, it's making the gap look a lot wider than I think it actually is. And I
also think that Williston match is a bit of a red herring. Like, Williston didn't play very well either.
Yeah.
The Bulls went awkward quite often. Sometimes you can kind of drag each other down to a
big
level.
game for both of them as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well, you know, like getting to the quarterfinals of the Crucible, it's a big thing. And
so I wouldn't judge C too quickly from that match. I think
because C's going in that game with a mindset of, I'm expected to win this. And equally, Ben Wollaston thinks, what an opportunity, I could win. This is winnable. And it probably does just have that. You see it in all sports, don't you, where two players can, like you say, drag themselves down. So, yeah, it's got to be interesting. I think this is a completely different challenge. And hopefully for the neutrals perspective, C, you know, can find his flow in the balls, and we could have a really, really entertaining affair. But yeah, quite like that bet, Adam. So if we were to combine your 4 selections into an accumulator right now, do you know what kind of price we'll be looking at?
17-1 with Bet365 for the acca, but the prices we've shown here are
best price.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just give you a little note of that on the screen. So if you want to go back, Adam's ace, if you want to go back through the tournament and back Adam's accumulator or 4 selections on the match betting, 17-1 with Bet365. As I said, these matches, the first 2 quarterfinals are just in frame 1, so not too late. You can still get on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed our summary. Adam, pleasure to have you again. I reckon we will next convene possibly for the final, just to have a little look ahead to the showpiece. But yeah, it's been a fantastic tournament so far. Really, really excited. I personally think the quarterfinals might be my favorite round of the whole tournament. Just got 4 top quality matches going across a number of sessions. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Just on a final note, if you've already hinted at this, but if somebody was looking to play the outrights now, I'm biased. I've got these 2 guys on my side, but I see the line of thought. Wakelin and C, they're both in the same side of the draw. Maybe both got chances of an upset. You could, there is an angle for getting them both on side and hoping one or both come through.
Yeah, I think on Trump's half of the draw, we've said, I think if Trump comes through Brecel, maybe if we're still getting a price around evens from there's going to be a real sense of inevitability heading into the semi-final against the winner of Higgins and Williams, who, again, have probably knocked lumps out of each other in this quarterfinal. So I think we should probably reassess Trump after this quarterfinal. And then on the other half of the draw, as we've talked about, I think those 2 quarterfinals are both closer than the market suggests. Absolutely think Wakelin's Xintong is near enough for a pick 'em match, really, in my head. Maybe not quite, but certainly the prices the disparity seems bigger than it should be. So for me, Wakelin and C, I think we can get one of them into the final at 25-1. And if we hit the jackpot is one of them in the final, but hopefully we'll get them both in the semi-final, and we know we've made profit by Thursday morning.
God, I hope you're right. I definitely hope you're right. Well, that concludes our latest snooker roundup from the 2025 World Championship. Let us know in the comments who you're backing for outright glory, how you see the quarterfinals going, and anything you'd like us to discuss in our final preview. We'll have a little look back on the tournament as a whole as well, and try and take some learnings away for next year for when we inevitably trying to find out the winner again. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please do remember to subscribe to Odds Now if you haven't already, and we'll be back again very soon with some more betting chat.